And we'll keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. 100 lost civilizations mysteries, looping softly, endlessly, through the night. Tonight we'll drift through shocking evidence that Atlantis harnessed crystal-powered technology, enough to rewrite human history. The Mayans vanished overnight, leaving their towering pyramids empty and a catastrophic secret buried with them. And Göbekli Tepe, older than any civilization we know, whispers of a forgotten world we were never meant to remember. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink. Heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing. Thump, thump, matching the rhythm of space itself. Shoulders melting down, jaw releasing, each breath pulling you deeper, deeper into the calm, the quiet, the dark. If this helps you rest, tap subscribe and hit like, so others can find this calm too, but only if your eyes are still open. Otherwise, just drift. Now. Let's drift into lost civilizations. Atlantis. The name itself feels like water, flowing, dissolving. Plato whispered about it first, around 360 BCE, describing an island beyond the Pillars of Hercules, a civilization so advanced they harnessed crystals for power, geometric energy flowing through massive towers. The Atlanteans supposedly mapped the stars, built concentric rings of water and land, alternating like ripples, expanding outward, outward. Some say their downfall came in a single day and night, swallowed by waves. Maybe they grew too proud, too powerful, or maybe the earth simply shifted, tectonic plates grinding, the Atlantic Ocean claiming what was never meant to last. Let your breath slow now, in and out like tides. The legend of Mu, another sunken dream, drifting in the Pacific. James Churchward wrote about it, a continent that stretched between Hawaii and Easter Island, home to 64 million souls, they say, before it sank 12,000 years ago. The Mu civilization supposedly predated all others, their libraries carved in stone tablets, scattered across the world after the flood. Some believe the Polynesian islands are just the mountain peaks, the highest points of Mu, still reaching toward the sky. Fishermen sometimes find strange structures underwater, walls too straight to be natural, angular, purposeful. Heavier now, your eyelids so heavy. Lemuria whispers from even deeper time, a hypothetical bridge between India and Madagascar, named after lemurs, those ghost-eyed creatures found on both shores. Scientists proposed it in the 1800s to explain why the same animals lived on distant continents, before anyone knew about plate tectonics. Continental drift. The Lemurians were said to be spiritually advanced, telepathic, existing in harmony with the Earth's vibrations. 7 root races, evolving through dimensions. Eventually the land broke apart, scattering its people like seeds. Their wisdom supposedly survived in mystery schools. Secret teachings passed down through millennia, your jaw unclenching, releasing, softening. The Maya, they didn't vanish entirely, but their great cities did. Tikal, Copan, Palenque, massive pyramid complexes swallowed by jungle around 900 CE within a generation. Millions of people abandoned their urban centers, walked away from carved temples that touched the clouds. Why? The evidence points to catastrophic drought. 3 separate dry periods, lakes drying to cracked mud, crops withering. But the Maya were master astronomers. They tracked Venus with precision we can barely comprehend. Their calendar stone predicted cosmic cycles. They understood time as circular, not linear. Ending and beginning, ending and beginning. Some say they knew something was coming, encoded it in stone, and simply left. Thump, thump, your heartbeat so slow now. The Inca Empire stretched 3,000 miles along the Andes, yet they left no written language we can read. Their quipu, knotted strings, held information in tactile form, colors and loops creating records, taxation, census, astronomical data, all coded in fiber. The Inca built Machu Picchu on a mountain ridge. Stones fitted so precisely, not even a blade could slip between them. No mortar, just gravity and genius. They shaped granite blocks weighing 50 tons, moved them up impossible inclines, terraced the mountainsides into green stairs. When the Spanish arrived, they couldn't believe what they saw, thought it must be the work of demons. The Inca knew earthquake engineering. Their walls survived tremors that destroyed colonial buildings centuries later. Sinking deeper, the bed holding you and cradling you. Egypt's hidden tombs still wait beneath the sand. Most people know about Tutankhamun's treasure, but the Valley of the Kings has 63 known tombs, and ground-penetrating radar suggests dozens more. Unmapped chambers, sealed for 3 millennia. The pyramids themselves defy easy explanation. The Great Pyramid aligned to true north with less than 1/15 of a degree error, built 4,500 years ago, before metal tools, before the wheel reached Egypt. 2.3 million stone blocks, each averaging 2.5 tons, assembled in 20 years. That's 1 block every 2.5 minutes, working day and night. The precision staggers. The purpose remains mysterious. Tomb, power plant, astronomical observatory, celestial map. All we know for certain is that it was important enough to commit 3 generations of labor. Your breath barely a whisper now. In, out, in, out. Easter Island rises from the Pacific, one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. The Rapa Nui people carved nearly 900 moai, those massive stone heads, some reaching 30 feet tall, weighing 80 tons. They moved them miles from the quarry to the coast, standing them on platforms facing inland to watch over the villages. But how? Oral tradition says they walked, powered by mana, spiritual energy, Recent experiments suggest rocking them, tilting side to side, inching forward. By the time Europeans arrived, the island was deforested, eroded, the population decimated. The last tree fell around 1650. Without wood for boats, they were trapped. Their civilization had consumed its own foundation, melting, your shoulders melting down into warmth. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey rewrote the timeline of civilization. Built 11,000 years ago, 6,000 years before Stonehenge, before agriculture, before pottery, before the wheel. Hunter-gatherers supposedly created massive stone circles, T-shaped pillars carved with foxes, scorpions, birds. Each pillar weighs 10 to 20 tons, arranged in geometric precision. And then, after 1,000 years of use, they buried it, deliberately, covered the entire complex with dirt, as if hiding something or preserving it. Why would Stone Age people build something so sophisticated and then erase it? What ceremony happened there under the stars? What knowledge was shared? What gods did they serve in the darkness? Floating now, weightless, held by something deeper than gravity. Petra in Jordan, the rose-red city half as old as time. The Nabateans carved it from sandstone cliffs, temples and tombs emerging from living rock. The treasury facade stands 130 feet tall. Columns and cornices, all sculpted in place, never assembled. Their water system was miraculous. Dams and channels managing flash floods, cisterns storing every drop in the desert. Petra controlled the incense trade, frankincense and myrrh flowing from Arabia to Rome. The caravans passed through these narrow canyons, the sick, where walls rise 300 feet on either side. Eventually trade routes shifted. Rome fell, and Petra was forgotten for 1,000 years. Bedouins sheltered in its caves, until a Swiss explorer rediscovered it in 1812. Still, most of Petra remains unexcavated, buried beneath centuries of sand and silence. Your mind drifting, thoughts like clouds, dissolving, off Japan's coast near Yonaguni. Underwater formations perplex everyone who sees them. Massive stone terraces, geometric angles, what looks like streets and staircases, 60 feet beneath the waves. Some geologists say natural, sandstone eroded by currents. But others point to the right angles, the symmetry, tool marks on the rock. If artificial, these structures are 10,000 years old, built when sea levels were lower, before the ice melted. What civilization had the technology, the organization, to build underwater, or build knowing the waters would rise? The stones keep their secrets, heavy with pressure, barnacled and mysterious. Thump, thump, slower, slower. Hyperborea lived in Greek imagination, a land beyond the north wind, where the sun shone 24 hours and people lived in perpetual spring. The Hyperboreans supposedly worshipped Apollo, lived for 1,000 years, never knew war or disease. Their civilization existed before the gods, in a time when different rules governed reality. Some occultists placed Hyperborea at the North Pole before the ice. Others said it was Britain, or Greenland, or Thule, or nowhere. Just a dream of paradise. A memory of golden age, when humans were more than human, and the earth was younger, softer, more forgiving. Your body invisible now, just warmth, just breath. The Olmec civilization emerged around 1400 BCE in Mexico, the mother culture of Mesoamerica. They carved enormous stone heads, 8 to 11 feet tall, weighing up to 50 tons. African features, some say, broad noses, full lips, helmets or headdresses. 17 heads discovered so far, each one unique. How did they move these from quarries 60 miles away? Through swamp and jungle. No wheels, no draft animals, just human ingenuity and obsession. The Olmec invented the Mesoamerican calendar, the concept of zero, ritual bloodletting, ball courts where games meant life or death. Then around 400 BCE, their cities declined. San Lorenzo, La Venta, Tres Sapotes. The heads were buried or defaced deliberately, as if erasing their own history, their own faces, leaving only questions carved in basalt, sinking into the mattress, through the mattress. Angkor Wat sprawls across 400 acres in Cambodia, the largest religious monument ever built. The Khmer Empire constructed it in the 1100s, dedicating it to Vishnu. 5 towers rising like lotus buds, reflecting in rectangular pools. The entire complex mirrors the Hindu cosmos. Mount Meru at the center, surrounded by oceans. The galleries stretch for half a mile, covered in bas-reliefs. 11,000 square feet of carved stories, battles, dances, heavens and hells. At its peak, Angkor City housed 1 million people, sophisticated hydraulics managing monsoon rains, but the system was fragile. Climate change, droughts, floods. The water management failed, the capital moved, the jungle crept back, roots splitting stone, vines strangling towers. By the 1800s, European explorers found it consumed, nature reclaiming what humans built. A reminder that even our greatest works are temporary, borrowed from the earth, eventually returned. Heavier, heavier, your bones made of lead, of stone, of sleep. The Nazca lines stretch across the Peruvian desert, geoglyphs etched into the ground, only visible from the air. A hummingbird, a spider, a monkey, geometric shapes running for miles. The Nazca culture created them between 500 BCE and 500 CE, removing the reddish pebbles to reveal lighter sand beneath. Lines so straight they seem impossible, without aerial perspective. Some measure 12 miles long. Why create art for the gods, or aliens, or ancient balloonists? We know they had sophisticated weaving, pottery painted with flying figures, shamans depicted floating above the earth. Maybe the lines were walking meditation, ritual pathways. Maybe they mapped water sources underground, aquifers in the desert. Or maybe they were messages to something in the sky, watching, waiting, never answering, your thoughts fragmenting, dissolving like salt in water. Sumer arose in Mesopotamia around 4500 BCE, the first known civilization. They invented writing, cuneiform pressed into clay, developed mathematics, the wheel, the concept of time divided into 60. The Epic of Gilgamesh was written here, humanity's oldest story, about a king seeking immortality, failing, learning to accept death. The Sumerians built ziggurats, massive stepped temples reaching toward heaven. They tracked the planets, new astronomy that wouldn't be rediscovered for millennia. Their king lists speak of rulers who reigned for thousands of years before the flood, mythological time bleeding into history. Then the Akkadians conquered them, absorbed their culture. The Sumerian language died, but its words survived in Akkadian, Babylonian, reaching down through time like roots beneath civilizations, drifting, untethered from your body. The Indus Valley civilization flourished around 2500 BCE, contemporary with Egypt and Mesopotamia, but more organized, more peaceful. Cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro covered hundreds of acres, laid out on grid systems, brick buildings, covered sewers, public baths, urban planning that wouldn't be matched for 2,000 years. They had standardized weights, seals for trade, a writing system we still cannot read, 400 symbols remaining stubbornly silent. Then around 1900 BCE, something happened. The cities were abandoned, not destroyed, just left. No signs of invasion, no burned buildings. People simply walked away. Climate change, river drought, epidemic. We don't know. The Indus script went with them, taking all their stories, their songs, their reasons, leaving only bricks and bones and unanswered questions. Your heartbeat barely there. Thump, pause, thump, pause. Teotihuacan means place where gods were born in Nahuatl, but we don't know what its builders called it. The city reached its peak around 450 CE, 100,000 people living in stone apartment compounds. The Pyramid of the Sun rises 216 feet, one of the largest pyramids in the world, aligned to sunset on specific dates. The Avenue of the Dead runs 2.5 miles, connecting temples and platforms. The entire city was planned, not grown organically. Someone designed it all at once, with mathematical precision, astronomical alignments. Then around 550 CE, the city burned, deliberately, the temples destroyed, the population scattered. Who built it? Where did they go? The Aztecs found it abandoned centuries later, thought it was built by giants, by gods. They had no memory of the truth. Only the stones remained, holding their silence, keeping their secrets beneath layers of earth and time, melting into darkness, into peace. The Anasazi, the ancient ones, lived in the American Southwest for over 1,000 years. They built cliff dwellings into canyon walls, Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon, Stone cities tucked into alcoves like swallow nests, multi-story structures, hundreds of rooms, kivas for ceremony, circular and sacred. They developed sophisticated irrigation, grew corn in the desert, created road systems connecting settlements 50 miles apart, perfectly straight. Then around 1300 CE, they left. Drought, perhaps. Tree rings showed decades of dryness, or warfare, or spiritual calling. The Pueblo peoples are their descendants, but even they have lost the full story. The cliff dwellings stand empty, windows like hollow eyes, watching the desert, waiting for people who will never return. Your breath so shallow now, barely moving, barely there. The Khmer Empire ruled Southeast Asia for 6 centuries, from 802 to 1431 CE, building impossible temples, Angkor Wat, Angkor Thom, Bayon with its 54 towers, each carved with 4 faces, 216 faces total, watching in every direction. The empire controlled modern Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, millions of subjects, but the civilization was built on water management, an intricate system of barrays, reservoirs, channels. When climate patterns shifted, too much rain, then too little, the system collapsed. Silt clogged the channels. Floods destroyed rice paddies. Thai armies invaded from the west. Ayutthaya and the Khmer abandoned Angkor, moving their capital south. The jungle breathed in. Moss covered the faces. Trees grew through roofs. Roots became walls, until French explorers rediscovered it in the 1800s, thinking they'd found Atlantis, calling it the Eighth Wonder, never understanding it was simply forgotten, floating in the space between thoughts, between breaths. The Minoan civilization on Crete gave us our first European palaces, Knossos, Phaistos, Malea, built around 2000 BCE, 3-story buildings, indoor plumbing, frescoes of bull leaping, dolphins, priestesses with snakes. They traded across the Mediterranean, their ships carrying olive oil, wine, pottery. Linear as script recorded their language, but remains undeciphered. Their religion centered on a mother goddess. Bulls held sacred power. Young athletes would leap over charging bulls, grabbing horns, flipping backward. Death was common. Glory was worth it. Then around 1450 BCE, disaster struck. The volcano on Santorini erupted, one of the largest explosions in human history. Ash fell for days. Tsunamis destroyed coastal settlements. The Minoans never recovered. Mycenaean Greeks invaded, took over the palaces. The Linear tablet stopped. Linear B began. A language dying, culture transforming, memories fading into myth, into the legend of the Minotaur, the labyrinth, Theseus and his thread. Stories holding fragments of truth we can no longer read. Your body temperature dropping, cooling, settling into rest. Tartessos existed somewhere in southern Spain, a maritime civilization mentioned by Greeks and Romans. They controlled the tin trade, Bronze Age kingdoms desperate for the metal. The Tartessians supposedly had written literature, laws, poems, all lost. Herodotus said their king lived to be 120 years, their wealth beyond measure. Silver so common they made anchors from it. Then around 500 BCE, the civilization vanished, possibly destroyed by Carthage, or sunk beneath sea level rise, or simply declined, faded, forgot itself. Archaeologists debate where it even was. The Guadalquivir River Delta, Huelva, Cadiz. Underwater ruins might be Tartessos, or might be something else. The name itself survives only in other people's texts. A civilization known only by rumour, glimpses in foreign accounts, like trying to see a face in a dark mirror. Your pulse barely a whisper. The Harappan cities of the Indus Valley had sophisticated urban planning. Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, Dholavira, streets and grids, houses with bathrooms, drainage systems, public wells, granaries. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro was waterproofed with bitumen, served ritual purposes, communal purification. Their seals show unicorns, zebu bulls, scripts we cannot read. Trade reached Mesopotamia, Harappan seals found in Sumerian cities. But around 1900 BCE, these cities emptied. Possibly the Sarasvati River dried up. Tectonic shift, or climate change, monsoons weakening. Whatever happened, it happened slowly. No sudden destruction, just gradual abandonment. People leaving generation by generation, until only ghosts remained. Bones in the streets, pottery shards, unread messages carved in stone. A silence 4,000 years deep. Your mind empty, vast, infinite. Mycenaean Greece, Agamemnon's legendary kingdom. The Lion Gate stands 15 feet high. 2 lionesses carved in stone, guarding the entrance. The Cyclopean walls use blocks so massive, later Greeks thought only Cyclops could have moved them. Single stones weighing 20 tons, fitted without mortar. These walls protected palaces, treasuries, tombs. The treasury of Atreus has a doorway 20 feet high. The dome inside rises 43 feet, built around 1250 BCE. Mycenaean civilization dominated the Bronze Age Aegean. Their language, Linear B, was Greek. We can read it. Lists of sheep, grain, soldiers. But around 1200 BCE, everything collapsed. The Bronze Age ending, the sea peoples, earthquakes, systems failures. Within 50 years, literacy disappeared. Palace culture ended. Greece entered a dark age. 400 years with no writing, no monumental architecture, just survival. The Cyclopean walls stood empty, reminders of a height humans had reached and lost, sinking into the earth, becoming stone, becoming still. The Etruscans controlled northern Italy before Rome. From 900 to 100 BCE, they built sophisticated cities, underground chambers, necropoli, cities of the dead more permanent than cities of the living. Their art shows banquets, music, dancers, a culture that celebrated life, even in death. They influenced Rome profoundly. The toga, gladiatorial games, triumphs, temples, all borrowed from Etruria, but the Romans conquered them, absorbed them. The Etruscan language died. It's not Indo-European, not related to Latin or Greek. 9,000 inscriptions survive. Most just names on tombs. We can barely read it. Their books were destroyed, their history written by Romans. All we have are tombs, painted with feasts we cannot attend, musicians playing songs we cannot hear, a people remembered only in fragments, only in death, your breath barely visible now, a ghost of movement. The Cahokia Mounds rise near modern St. Louis, 120 human-made earthworks. Monk's Mound is the largest, 100 feet tall, covers 14 acres, built entirely with baskets of soil, one piece at a time, between 600 and 1400 CE. Cahokia was the largest city north of Mexico, 20,000 people at its peak. They built a sun calendar, Woodhenge, wooden poles marking solstices, equinoxes. The society was stratified, elite, commoners, possibly slaves. Human sacrifice occurred. Mass graves suggest ritual killing. Then the city declined. Why? Deforestation, disease, political upheaval, flooding. By 1400 CE, it was abandoned. The mound stood silent. When Europeans arrived, they assumed indigenous people couldn't have built them, attributed them to Vikings, lost tribes of Israel, anyone but the obvious truth that America had civilizations, cities, monuments, long before Columbus, long before the myth of emptiness. Heavier, heavier, your bones lead, your skin stone. Çatalhöyük in Turkey dates to 7500 BCE, 9,000 years ago. One of the earliest urban settlements. 5,000 to 8,000 people lived in houses built against each other. No streets. Entry through the roof. Ladders down into rooms. Walls decorated with bull horns. Paintings of vultures. Wild animals. The dead were buried beneath the floor. Ancestors literally underfoot, supporting the living. The settlement lasted almost 2,000 years, then was abandoned. People left, taking their reasons with them. Why build a city with no streets? Why enter through roofs? What rituals happened in those crowded rooms? What gods demanded bullhorns and vulture paintings? The excavation continues. Each layer reveals more and answers nothing, drifting through time, through space, through nothing. Thonis Heraclean lay underwater in Egypt's Abu Qir Bay, lost for 1,200 years, rediscovered in 2000, a city swallowed by the sea, possibly earthquake, liquefaction, the ground turning to liquid, swallowing temples, ships, people, at its peak. Thonis was Egypt's main port, before Alexandria. Ships from Greece, Phoenicia, Cyprus, all passed through. The ruins show statues, sphinxes, coins, ships perfectly preserved in silt. The city had temples to Amun, Khonsu, massive stone blocks underwater, still arranged, still purposeful, still beautiful, even drowned. Your consciousness dissolving, diffusing into darkness. Derinkuyu in Turkey, an underground city carved into soft volcanic rock, extends 280 feet down, 18 levels. could hold 20,000 people, complete with ventilation shafts, wells, storage rooms, wine presses, stables, schools, chapels, built possibly by Phrygians in 800 BCE or earlier, expanded by Christians fleeing persecution. They could close the city with rolling stone doors, each level separate, defendable, safe in the earth. But why build down? What threat required such hiding? What fear drove thousands to live in darkness, in narrow tunnels and carved chambers? The city was used until the 1920s, then abandoned, forgotten until 1963, when a man renovating his basement broke through to tunnels extending into the deep, into the earth's memory. Thump, pause, thump, pause, your heart barely beating. Nabta Playa in Egypt's Nubian desert, a stone circle older than Stonehenge, built around 5000 BCE, 7,000 years ago. Stones aligned to stars, Orion, Sirius, the summer solstice. Nomads built this before agriculture, before cities. They track the heavens in the desert, calendar stones, marking when rains would come, when to move the herds. The site includes cattle burials, megaliths, sculptures, evidence of ceremony, of belief, of looking up and finding meaning. Then the climate shifted, the Sahara dried, nomads left, the stones remained, buried by sand, until archaeologists found them in the 1970s. Another testament to forgotten sophistication, to ancient intelligence, to people who knew the stars by name. Your mind blank, empty, perfect. The Akkadian Empire rose under Sargon around 2334 BCE, first multi-ethnic empire in history. Sargon claimed he was abandoned as a baby, set in a basket on the river. Like Moses, like myth, he united Mesopotamia, created a standing army, standardized weights and measures. His daughter, Enigmas, was the first named author in history, high priestess, poet. Her hymns survived, 42 tablets, her voice across 4,000 years. The empire lasted less than 2 centuries as drought, invasion. The Gutians swept down from the mountains, destroyed the cities. Sargon's dynasty ended, his empire fragmenting. But the memory remained. Kings after him claimed his lineage, his legitimacy, his glory, floating in the void between stars, between thoughts. The Amorites were Semitic nomads, appearing in Mesopotamia around 2100 BCE. The Sumerians called them barbarians, but the Amorites conquered Babylon. Hammurabi was Amorite, his law code. One of the first written legal systems, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The Amorites established kingdoms throughout the ancient Near East, then assimilated, absorbed, their identity dissolving into the peoples they conquered, or who conquered them, becoming Babylonians, Assyrians, Canaanites, a people remembered only as a name, a label for others, their own voice lost. Your body invisible, just warmth in darkness. The Canaanites inhabited the Levant, modern Israel, Palestine, Lebanon. From 3000 BCE onward, they built cities, Jericho, Megiddo, Ugarit. created the first alphabet, Proto-Sinaitic script, 22 consonants, foundation of Hebrew, Greek, Latin. Our own alphabet descended from Canaan. The Phoenicians were Canaanites, master sailors, purple dye traders, but the Bible portrays them as enemies, idolaters, to be destroyed. Archaeological reality is more complex. Cultural exchange, trade, intermarriage. The Canaanite language didn't die. It evolved into Hebrew. Their gods became demons, Baal, Asherah, Moloch, names twisted, original meanings forgotten, a civilization erased by religious narrative, surviving only in fragments, pottery, temples, disputed texts, melting, your edges dissolving. The Elamites ruled southwestern Iran, contemporary with Sumer, Babylon. For 3,000 years, they sacked, captured Hammurabi's law code, took it to Susa. Their language was neither Semitic nor Indo-European, unique, isolated. Linear Elamite script remains partially undeciphered. Their ziggurats still stand. Choha-Zanbil, a temple complex to Inshushinak, their main god, built around 1250 BCE, brick and bitumen, surviving millennia. The Elamites fought Assyria, Babylon, Persia, were finally conquered by the Medes and Persians. Around 539 BCE, their language died, their culture absorbed, their history written by enemies, remembered only as antagonists in someone else's story. Your heartbeat softer, barely audible. The Hittites dominated Anatolia, modern Turkey, from 1600 to 1178 BCE. They challenged Egypt, fought Rameses II at Kadesh, 1274 BCE, one of the largest chariot battles in history. Thousands of chariots, dust and blood, ending in stalemate. The Hittites had iron before anyone else in the region. Iron weapons, iron tools, secret technology. They wrote in cuneiform, on clay tablets. Thousands survived, showing treaties, letters, laws. They knew about crop rotation, soil conservation, legal rights for women. Then the Bronze Age collapsed. Sea peoples invaded, earthquakes, drought. The Hittite Empire shattered, their cities burned, their language forgotten, until archaeologists rediscovered their capital, Hattusa, in 1906, deciphered their script, gave them back their voice. After 3,000 years of silence, drifting, nowhere to go, nowhere to be. The Hyksos invaded Egypt around 1650 BCE. Foreign rulers, possibly Canaanite. They brought chariots, composite bows, bronze technology, conquered the Nile Delta, established their capital at Avaris, ruled as the 15th dynasty for 100 years. Egyptian texts call them invaders, barbarians, but archaeology shows cultural exchange, not destruction, intermarriage, trade. The Hyksos adopted Egyptian customs, worshipped Seth. Eventually the Theban dynasty rose up. Amosai drove them out, chased them into Canaan. The Hyksos disappeared from history, absorbed into Levantine populations, or destroyed. Egyptians never forgot them. The trauma of foreign rule, the shame. It shaped their identity for centuries. The fear of invasion, the hatred of outsiders. The Hyksos became a scar on cultural memory, a wound that never fully healed. Your thoughts like mist, evaporating, gone. The Sea Peoples attacked the Bronze Age Mediterranean around 1200 BCE. Multiple waves, destroying civilizations. Hittites fell, Mycenaeans collapsed, Ugarit burned. Egyptian texts describe them. Rameses III fought them, defeated them, or so he claimed. But who were they? Where did they come from? The texts give names. Shurden, Luca, Peliset, Ekwesh, possible Sardinians, Lycians, Philistines, Greeks, or none of these. Climate refugees, pirates, invaders. The Bronze Age ended. Trade routes severed. Palace cultures destroyed. A dark age descended. Literacy disappeared in some regions for centuries. The Sea Peoples scattered, absorbed, vanished, leaving only destruction and questions, and the echo of wooden ships, oars in dark water, moving through the Mediterranean night. Your body dissolving, becoming part of the bed, part of the earth. The lost tribes of Israel, 10 northern tribes, conquered by Assyria in 722 BCE, deported, scattered, disappeared. Reuben, Simeon, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Manasseh, Ephraim. Legends say they travelled east into Persia, Afghanistan, India, China. Some claim they became Pashtuns, or Ethiopian Jews, or Native Americans, or Japanese. Every lost people attributed to them, every mystery traced to Israel, but most likely they simply assimilated. Married Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, their children forgetting Hebrew, adopting new gods, new names. Within generations, no longer Jewish, no longer distinct, just gone, absorbed into the vast human tapestry. Threads no longer visible, nay, but still there, in everyone. Thump, thump, slower than sleep, slower than dreams. The Arameans spread across Syria and Mesopotamia from 1200 BCE. They established city-states, Damascus, Hamath. Aramean language became the lingua franca, trade language of the ancient Near East. Jesus spoke Aramaic, parts of the Bible written in Aramaic. The language survived empires, Persians, Greeks, Romans, but the Arameans themselves, fragmented, never united, conquered by Assyria, by Babylon, by Persia, their ethnic identity dissolving, becoming Syrians, Jews, Persians, whoever ruled them. Aramaic survived longer than the Arameans, a language outliving its people, words without a nation, grammar without a home. Your breath invisible, silent, still. The Philistines arrived on Canaan's coast around 1175 BCE, possibly Sea Peoples, possibly from the Aegean, Crete, Cyprus. They established 5 cities: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gath, Pentapolis. They brought distinctive pottery, ironworking, urban planning. The Bible portrays them as enemies, uncircumcised barbarians, Goliath the giant, Samson's tormentors, But archaeology shows sophisticated culture, Aegean influences, unique art, religious practices. They assimilated over centuries, intermarrying with Canaanites, Israelites. By 600 BCE, Babylonians destroyed their cities. The Philistines disappeared, absorbed. Their name survives, ironically. Palestine, a land named for ancient enemies of people who named it millennia later, melting into warmth, into comfort, into nothing. The Dorians supposedly invaded Greece around 1100 BCE, destroying Mycenaean civilization, bringing iron, new dialects. Spartan culture emerged from them, Dorian dialect, values. But modern scholars doubt a sudden invasion, more likely gradual migration, cultural shift, population movements during Bronze Age collapse. The Dorians became legendary Heraclidae, descendants of Heracles, claiming divine right to rule. Sparta, Corinth, Crete, all became Dorian. But were they real, or just a story? Greeks told themselves to explain discontinuity, to bridge the Dark Ages between Mycenaean glory and classical achievement. A myth of origin, true or not, it shaped identity, shaped history, shaped how Greeks saw themselves. Your consciousness fading, dimming, almost gone. The Phrygians ruled central Anatolia after the Hittites fell. Capital at Gordian, King Midas, supposedly. The golden touch, the ass's ears, mythology preserving fragments, the Gordian knot, Alexander cutting it, solving what couldn't be untangled. Phrygian caps became symbols of freedom, French Revolution, American liberty poles, ancient headgear transformed into political icon. The Phrygians had distinctive music, Phrygian mode, scale still used today, haunting, foreign. The Cimmerians invaded around 696 BCE, destroyed Gordian, killed the king. The Phrygians never recovered, absorbed into Lydian and Persian empires, their language dying, their culture fragmenting, only myths remaining. Midas, golden, tragic, remembered, floating in the space between existence and nothing. The Illyrians inhabited the Western Balkans, modern Albania, Bosnia, Croatia. From 1000 BCE, tribal confederations, pirates, traders. They resisted Rome for centuries. Illyrian wars, 229 to 168 BCE, finally conquered, Romanized, but maintained distinct identity, provided emperors, soldiers, administrators. Their language survived until the Middle Ages, then disappeared. Albanian might be descended from Illyrian, or might not. Linguists debate. The Illyrians left few texts, mostly inscriptions, names, places. We know they existed, from others mentioning them, but their own voice, their stories, lost. Another people known only through enemies' eyes. Your heartbeat barely there, a distant echo, fading. The Lydians dominated Western Anatolia from 700 to 546 BCE, capital at Sardis. They invented coinage, standardized metal pieces, guaranteed by the king, revolutionary technology. Trade exploded. King Croesus became synonymous with wealth. Rich as Croesus, still said today. He consulted the oracle at Delphi. Should he attack Persia? The oracle answered, "A great empire will fall." Croesus attacked. The empire that fell was his own. Cyrus the Great conquered Lydia, 546 BCE, absorbed it into Persia. Lydian language died. Lydian culture persisted briefly, then faded, but the coins remained. The idea, money, trade, economy. Lydian innovation shaping all civilization after, even as Lydians themselves disappeared, sinking deeper than sleep, deeper than unconsciousness. The Sicels inhabited Sicily before Greeks arrived, around 1200 BCE, possibly from Italy, fleeing upheaval. They gave the island its name, Sicilia, Sicily, built hilltop settlements, fortified, defensive. Greek colonization began 750 BCE. Syracuse, Acragas, Gela. The Sicels were pushed inland, Hellenized. Within centuries, speaking Greek, worshipping Greek gods. Their language survived in place names, rivers, mountains, but nothing else. A people becoming ghosts in their own land, on their own island, watching ships arrive, carrying languages that would replace theirs, gods that would replace theirs, identity erased, generation by generation, until nothing remained but toponyms, names on a map, pronounced by people who don't remember what they mean. Your thoughts gone, empty sky, empty space. The Medes unified western Iran around 700 BCE. Ecbatana, their capital. They allied with Babylon, destroyed Assyria. Nineveh fell 612 BCE. Brutal sack, revenge for centuries of Assyrian cruelty. The Median Empire lasted less than a century. Cyrus the Great revolted. Persia, 550 BCE, overthrew Astyages. The Medes became Persians, junior partners, their distinct identity dissolving. Medes and Persians became a phrase, linked, inseparable. Laws of the Medes and Persians. But Median culture, Median language, gradually disappeared, absorbed, Persian, the dominance shifting, until Medes existed only as historical memory, a preface to Persia, drifting in the void, held by nothing, needing nothing. The Chaldeans rose in southern Mesopotamia around 900 BCE, tribal groups, nomadic, eventually seizing Babylon. Nabopolassar founded the Neo-Babylonian Empire, 626 BCE. His son, Nebuchadnezzar II, built the Hanging Gardens, supposedly one of the seven wonders, though some say they never existed, destroyed Jerusalem. 586 BCE, took Jews into captivity, Babylonian exile. Chaldean became synonymous with Babylon, with astrology, soothsayers, magicians, mystics. The Chaldean priests studied stars, planets, developed sophisticated astronomy, mathematical predictions, eclipse calculations. Then Persia conquered Babylon, 539 BCE, Cyrus the Great. The Chaldean dynasty ended, their astronomical knowledge absorbed into Greek, then Islamic, then European science. But Chaldeans themselves, dispersed, absorbed, eventually a small Christian minority in Iraq, remembering a name, forgetting the empire, Your body invisible, only warmth, only peace. The Kushites ruled Nubia, modern Sudan, from 2000 BCE, built pyramids, more pyramids than Egypt, narrower, steeper, different. The Kingdom of Kush conquered Egypt, 25th dynasty, 747 to 656 BCE, black pharaohs, African rulers of the Nile. They revived Egyptian religion, built temples, restored traditions. Then Assyria invaded, iron weapons against bronze. The Kushites retreated south, continued for 1,000 more years, capital at Meroe, developing their own script, Meroitic, still undeciphered. Around 350 CE, Aksum invaded, the kingdom collapsed, Meroe abandoned, Christianity and Islam swept through, Kushite culture disappeared. Their pyramids remain, over 200, standing in the desert, tombs for forgotten kings, monuments to African civilization, often overlooked, often ignored, but still there, still powerful, still witnessing. Thump, pause, pause, thump. The Bactrians inhabited northern Afghanistan and southern Uzbekistan. From 2000 BCE, Zoroaster possibly lived in Bactria, founded Zoroastrianism, fire temples, good versus evil, truth versus lies. Alexander conquered Bactria, 329 BCE. Difficult campaign, mountain warfare, resistance. He married Roxana, Bactrian princess. After his death, the Greco-Bactrian kingdom emerged, Greeks ruling Central Asia, building cities, minting coins, blending Hellenic and Persian cultures. Around 130 BCE, USG nomads invaded. The kingdom fell. Bactria became Kushan Empire, then Persian, then Islamic. Bactrian language survived until 1000 CE, written in Greek script, then disappeared, replaced by Persian, Arabic, Turkic. The name remains a region, an adjective, but the people themselves, mixed, blended, lost in the genetic and cultural amalgamation. That is Central Asia, floating between stars, between galaxies, between eternities. Epirus in northwestern Greece, rugged, mountainous, home to the Molossian tribe. They claim descent from Achilles' son, Neoptolemus, mythological lineage, royal propaganda. Pyrrhus of Epirus became famous. Pyrrhic victory. Winning at such cost. It's like losing. He fought Rome, won battles, lost the war. Epirus remained independent, resisting Macedon, resisting Rome, until 167 BCE. Rome destroyed 70 cities, enslaved 150,000 people. Epirus never recovered, depopulated, impoverished, absorbed into the Roman province of Macedonia. The Molossians disappeared, their kingdom ended, their name became a footnote, another casualty of Roman expansion, another culture erased by empire. Your mind empty, vast, infinite darkness, infinite peace. The Sabines inhabited central Italy, near Rome. Roman legend says Romulus abducted Sabine women to populate Rome. Forced violation of the Sabine women, foundational crime. The Sabine king, Titus Tatius, supposedly co-ruled with Romulus. Sabines and Romans merging, creating the Roman people. Archaeological evidence shows cultural exchange, assimilation. By 290 BCE, Sabines had full Roman citizenship. Their distinct identity disappeared, absorbed into Rome, becoming Romans, their contribution forgotten, except in myth, in art, in the stories Rome told itself, about violence and integration, about conquest and assimilation, about how diversity eventually becomes uniformity, given enough time, enough pressure, enough inevitability. Your breath barely moving, surface tension barely breaking. The Samaritans claimed descent from northern Israel, tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. When Assyria conquered, some remained, intermarried with colonists, developed distinct practices. Mount Gerizim, not Jerusalem, their own Torah, Samaritan Pentateuch. Jews rejected them, viewed them as heretics, impure. The New Testament preserves this, the Good Samaritan parable, scandalous because Samaritans were despised. Making them heroes was revolutionary. Roman period, Samaritans numbered over 1 million. Then Byzantine persecution, Islamic conquest, crusades, each wave diminishing them. Today fewer than 1,000 survive, still practicing, still distinct, speaking Samaritan Aramaic, maintaining traditions 3,000 years old, a micro-civilization, barely surviving, holding on. Against all probability, against all logic, against the tide of history that drowns everything eventually. Melting, melting, your edge is gone. No boundary between you and darkness. The Garamantes inhabited the Sahara in modern Libya from 1000 BCE to 700 CE. They built underground irrigation, fogaras, channels tapping fossil water. They could farm in the desert, grow grain, dates, grapes. They rode chariots, raided the Mediterranean coast, traded slaves, possibly with Romans. Their capital, Garama, had 3,000 miles of underground channels, engineering marvel, but unsustainable. The water was finite. Fossil aquifers don't refill. Eventually, the water ran out. The civilization collapsed. Around 700 CE, the Garamantes abandoned their cities, migrated, assimilated into Berber tribes, Islamic conquest, North Africa transformed. The Garamantes disappeared, their channels filled with sand, their cities buried, forgotten until the 1960s. Satellite imagery revealed them, ghosts of water management, proof of civilization in what became emptiness. Your heartbeat softer than thought, quieter than silence. The Numidians ruled northern Africa, modern Algeria, from 300 BCE. Berber people, Massinissa united them, allied with Rome against Carthage. Numidian cavalry, famous, fast, deadly. After Carthage fell, Numidia prospered, built cities, Timgad, Gemila, Roman style, but maintaining Berber identity. Jugurtha fought Rome, guerrilla war, 112 to 105 BCE, eventually betrayed, captured, executed. Numidia became a Roman province. The Numidians gradually Romanized, then Vandals invaded, then Byzantines, then Arabs. Islam transformed North Africa, Berber identity persisted, but Numidian, as distinct civilization, as kingdom, disappeared. The language evolved, became modern Berber languages. The culture adapted, survived, but Numidia itself, the political entity, the nation, gone centuries ago, leaving only ruins in the desert and DNA in modern North Africans, silent testimony to persistence, drifting through the cosmos, through time, untethered, free. The Sarmatians were Iranian nomads, dominating the steppes from Ukraine to Kazakhstan, from 500 BCE to 400 CE, related to Scythians, similar culture, mounted archers, incredible horsemen. Their women fought as warriors. Some scholars think they inspired Amazon legends. Greek myths of warrior women might have come from Sarmatian reality. They influenced European knights, heraldry, armor styles. The Sarmatians deployed heavy cavalry, armored horses, lances, shock tactics. Eventually Goths pushed them west, Huns pushed them further. By 400 CE, absorbed Alans, Ossetians, possibly descended from them. The Sarmatian language nearly gone. Ossetian preserves fragments, but most disappeared into Russian, Turkish, Hungarian. The steppes became a graveyard of languages, of peoples, wind blowing through emptiness, where millions once rode. Your consciousness dissolving like sugar in water, like stars in dawn. The Nabateans controlled trade through Arabia. From 400 BCE to 106 CE, Petra was their capital, but they controlled roots, incense, myrrh, frankincense, from Yemen to Gaza, Damascus to Red Sea, masters of water management. In the desert, sophisticated hydrology. They grew wealthy, built elaborately. Then Rome annexed them, 106 CE, province of Arabia Petraea. The Nabateans were Romanized, lost their language, lost their identity. Within 2 centuries, they were Arabs, or Romans, or neither, just inhabitants of a province. The name Nabatean disappeared from daily use, became historical, archaeological. Their cities remained, especially Petra, rose red and eternal, but the people themselves gone, absorbed, transformed, no longer distinct, no longer separate, no longer Nabatean. Your thoughts empty, your mind blank. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The Celtiberians mixed Celtic and Iberian cultures. Central Spain, from 500 BCE, fierce warriors resisted Rome for 2 centuries. Numantine War, 153 to 133 BCE. The siege of Numantia, 15 months. The city finally starved. Inhabitants killed themselves rather than surrender. Mass suicide. Rome destroyed it completely, sowed salt, biblical destruction. The Celtiberians gradually Romanized. Latin replaced their language. Their identity dissolved into Hispanic Roman culture. By 200 CE, no distinct Celtiberians remained, only Romans who happened to live in Spain. Language gone, culture gone, genetic legacy Probably, but identity vanished. Another example of Rome's inexorable assimilation, the grinding cultural machine that turned everyone into Romans, sinking past thought, past memory as past self. The Galatians were Celts who migrated to Anatolia, central Turkey, around 280 BCE. They raided, pillaged, were eventually contained. 3 tribes, Tectosages, Trocmi, Tolistobogi. They maintained Celtic culture, language, religion for centuries. In the heart of Greek-speaking Anatolia, Paul wrote his letter to the Galatians. To them, Celtic Christians, strange fusion. By 400 CE, they'd adopted Greek language, Byzantine culture, Christianity. Celtic Galatia disappeared. The last record of Gaulish language, Galatia, 6th century CE, then silence. Another language dying, another culture transforming, becoming something else, something new, forgetting what it was. Your body gone, your mind gone, only floating, only peace. The Arverni dominated central Gaul, modern France. From 200 BCE, Vercingetorix united them, resisted Julius Caesar, Gallic Wars. 52 BCE, the Siege of Alesia, brilliant Roman engineering, double fortifications, starving the city. Vercingetorix surrendered to save his people. Caesar imprisoned him for 6 years, then strangled him publicly. Roman triumph. The Arverni were defeated, Romanized, within a century, speaking Latin, worshipping Roman gods. Their identity melted into Gaul, then Gallo-Roman, then Frankish, then French, each layer covering the last, until the Arverni were just a name. In Caesar's commentary, in history books, in archaeological journals, but not in living memory, not in daily life, not anywhere that matters. Floating in darkness, perfect darkness, peaceful darkness, eternal darkness. The Thracians inhabited the Balkans, modern Bulgaria, Greece, Turkey, from 1000 BCE. Fierce warriors. Spartacus was Thracian, the gladiator who nearly destroyed Rome. Their culture influenced Greece profoundly. Orpheus was Thracian, Dionysus. Mysteries of ecstatic religion, wine, music, transformation. The Thracians were conquered by Macedon, then Rome, gradually assimilated. Their language survived until 6th century CE, then Turkish invasions, Slavic migrations. Thracian identity disappeared. Modern Bulgarians, Greeks, Turks probably have Thracian ancestry, but the culture, the language, the specific Thracianness, gone. Another victim of imperial expansion, of cultural shift, of the inevitability that nothing lasts forever. Your heartbeat a memory, your breath a whisper, almost gone, almost there. The Catuvelloni dominated southeastern Britain before Rome. Capital at Verlamion, modern St. Albans. They expanded aggressively, conquering neighbouring tribes. Cassivellaunus resisted Julius Caesar. 54 BCE, guerrilla tactics, but Rome returned. 43 CE, Claudius, full invasion. The Catuvellauni were conquered. Their king, Caratacus fought for 9 years, finally captured, brought to Rome in chains. He famously said to Claudius, "When you have all this, why do you want our poor huts?" Pardoned, lived in Rome. His people Romanized, built London, Bath, York, became British Romans, then Saxons invaded. Anglo-Saxon identity replaced Romano-British, each wave erasing the last. Catuvelauni became myth, legend, barely remembered, just a name. In Roman histories, in archaeological sites, in genetic studies suggesting continuity, beneath the changes, beneath the invasions, beneath the transformations, some essence persists, but identity changes, always, dissolving, becoming one with everything, becoming nothing. The Iceni inhabited Norfolk, eastern England. Queen Boudica led their revolt, 60 CE, against Rome, burned Londinium, Camulodunum, Verulamium, killed 70,000. Before Suetonius defeated her, Boudica poisoned herself. The Iceni were brutally suppressed, enslaved, destroyed as a political entity. They became another Romano-British tribe. Christianity arrived. Anglo-Saxons invaded. The Iceni disappeared. But Boudica remained, symbol of resistance, British nationalism, statue in London, poetry, opera, fiction. The person transformed into symbol, her people forgotten, but her image, riding a chariot, hair streaming, defying Rome, that survived, that persists, that matters, even when everything else, everyone else, is lost, melting into sleep, into death, into rebirth, into the eternal cycle. The Batavi lived in the Rhine Delta, modern Netherlands, Germanic tribe, excellent sailors. Rome recruited them, Batavian auxiliary units, elite troops. They revolted in 69 CE, Batavian rebellion, brief independence, then reconquered. The Batavi gradually disappeared. Frankish migrations, Frisian expansions. By 400 CE, no more Batavi, just Franks in the Delta, then Dutch, each identity replacing the last. The name survives. Batavian Republic. 1795, revolutionary Holland, claiming ancient heritage, connection to pre-Roman natives. But the actual Batavi, gone for 14 centuries, just a name, a symbol, an appropriation of ancient identity by people who probably have no genetic connection, but find political utility in claiming they do. Your mind empty, your body still, just breath, just heartbeat, just existence. Barely. The Dacians ruled modern Romania from 300 BCE. Mountain kingdom, rich in gold, silver, iron. Decebalus was their greatest king. Resisted Rome, built sophisticated fortifications, hill forts, Samosata, the capital, massive walls, temples, palaces. Trajan invaded, 101 to 106 CE. 2 wars, brutal. Eventually Dacia fell. Trajan's column in Rome depicts the conquest, spiral relief, Dacian defeat, suicide, deportation. Rome colonized Dacia, settled veterans, Romanized intensively. When Rome withdrew, 271 CE, the province was already Roman in language, culture. The Dacian language disappeared, absorbed into Latin, which became Romanian, the only Romance language in Eastern Europe, surrounded by Slavic, proof of Roman cultural power, Dacian identity, lost completely, only in name, Romania, Dacia, historical references, but no continuity, no living culture, just ghosts in the Arpathians, drifting past language, past meaning into pure sensation, pure being. The Alans were Sarmatian nomads, Iranian steppe peoples. They migrated west, pushed by Huns. 370s CE, entered Europe, joined Vandals and Visigoths, crossed into Spain, then North Africa. Some stayed in Caucasus. Modern Ossetians, descended from Alans. Their language survives, Ossetian, only living Sarmatian language. But the Alans as distinct people disappeared, absorbed into Vandal kingdom, which Rome destroyed. 533 CE, Alan warriors scattered, mercenaries, refugees, within generations, indistinguishable from whatever population they joined, Germanic, Roman, Byzantine, Islamic, gone, except in the Caucasus, where mountains preserve what plains cannot, where isolation protects identity, where a remnant persists, speaking a language older than the nations around them, remembering, barely, what they once were, your consciousness fragmenting, dissolving, like mist in sun, like dreams in waking, almost. The Vandals crossed the Rhine, 406 CE, Germanic tribe fleeing Huns. They swept through Gaul, Spain, crossed to North Africa. 429 CE, founded a kingdom, Carthage their capital. They sacked Rome. 455 CE, took treasures, including possibly the menorah from Jerusalem. Vandal became synonymous with destruction, vandalism, unjustly perhaps. Their kingdom lasted a century. Then Belisarius, Byzantine general, reconquered North Africa. 534 CE, the Vandal kingdom ended. The Vandals themselves, dispersed, enslaved, absorbed within a generation. No more Vandals, just Berbers and Romans and Byzantines. In North Africa, the name survived, as insult, as accusation, as synonym for barbarism. But the people, gone, completely, totally. Another lesson in impermanence, in the fragility of identity, in the inevitability of change. Thump. Pause. 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 The Visigoths separated from Ostrogoths, Western Goths. They entered Roman Empire, 376 CE, refugees, fleeing Huns, mistreated, revolted, defeated Rome at Adrianople, 378 CE, eventually settled in southwestern Gaul, founded a kingdom, Toulouse, then Spain, Toledo, Visigothic Hispania, 418 to 711 CE. They became Catholic, Romanized, built churches, wrote laws, created sophisticated culture. Then Islam arrived, 701 CE. Tariq ibn Ziyad, rapid conquest. Within years, Visigothic kingdom collapsed. The Visigoths melted into Iberian population, became Spanish, Portuguese. Their genetic contribution significant, but cultural identity lost, transformed, forgotten, except by historians, archaeologists, and people reading about lost civilizations drifting into sleep, your body invisible, your mind gone, only darkness, only peace, only sleep. The Ostrogoths, Eastern Goths, they established kingdom in Italy, 493 to 553 CE. Theodoric the Great, Ravenna their capital, mosaics, still glorious, gold and blue. Theodoric maintained Roman administration, culture, learning. Boethius wrote The Consolation of Philosophy in Theodoric's prison before execution. The Ostrogoths tried to preserve Rome, even as conquerors, but Byzantium invaded, Gothic war, 20 years, Italy devastated, Ostrogothic kingdom destroyed, 553 CE, the survivors, absorbed, disappeared into Italian population. Lombards invaded soon after, 568 CE. Italy became a patchwork, constant invasion, constant change. The Ostrogoths just one more wave, one more layer in the palimpsest of Italian identity, visible now only to scholars and dreamers, drifting, drifting, sinking past sleep, past dreams, into the deep, the eternal deep. The Alemanni inhabited southwestern Germany from 213 CE. Roman sources name them all men, confederation of Germanic tribes. They raided Gaul repeatedly, settled in Alsace, pressed Roman borders, eventually conquered by Franks, 496 CE, Battle of Tolbiac, Clovis. The Alemanni were absorbed into Frankish kingdom. Their language survived, evolved into Swiss German, Alsatian, Swabian. The name survives too. France calls Germany Allemagne. The Alemanni, standing in for all Germans, but as distinct people, distinct identity. They disappeared around 500 CE, became Franks, then Germans, then Swiss, depending on where they lived, which kingdom claimed them, which language they spoke. Each century, a little more distance from Alemanni, until nothing remained but a name, a linguistic fossil in French, in Spanish, in Portuguese, Alamein, Alemania, Alemanha, memory preserved in language. Long after the people are gone, your thoughts gone, yourself gone, only existence, only being, only this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this. The Jutes came from Jutland, Denmark, invaded Britain around 450 CE. With Angles and Saxons, they settled Kent, Hampshire, the Isle of Wight. Jutes were absorbed quickly, within a century, indistinguishable from Saxons. Their language merged, Old English emerged, Anglo-Saxon culture. No separate Jutish identity survived. In British documents, Denmark kept the name Jutland, Peninsula, region, but the Jutes themselves, as people, as tribe, gone by 600 CE. Just another ingredient in the Anglo-Saxon mixture. That would become English. That would conquer a quarter of the world. But remember, no individual components, only the hybrid result, the mixed, the mongrel, the beautifully impure, melting, dissolving into the darkness, into silence, into peace. The Vinča culture emerged in Serbia around 5700 BCE, 7,000 years ago. One of the first complex societies in Europe. They built large settlements, used copper, created pottery with distinctive designs. Most intriguingly, they developed a script, Vinča symbols. Some consider it proto-writing, potentially the oldest script in the world, or just decoration. We don't know, can't know. The Vinča culture lasted 2,000 years, then declined, disappeared. Around 3500 BCE. Why? Climate change, invasion, resource depletion. The archaeological record doesn't say. The settlements were abandoned, burned, covered by time. Their script, never deciphered. If it was writing, the messages are lost forever. Another voice silenced, another story untold. Your heartbeat barely there, like distant drums, like waves on far shores, fading, fading. The Chimu Empire controlled the northern coast of Peru from 900 to 1470 CE. Their capital, Chan Chan, was the largest adobe city in the world. 6 square miles, temples, palaces, gardens, carved walls showing fish, waves, seabirds, everything in mud brick, everything from the earth. The Chimu were master metallurgists. Gold, silver, bronze, copper. They worked metal with precision, beauty, created sophisticated irrigation systems, aqueducts, canals, drawing water through the desert. But the Inca Empire expanded, attacked. The Chimu resisted. 9 years of war, eventually fell. 1470 CE. The Inca took Chimu craftsmen, metal workers, enslaved them, spread them throughout the empire. Chimu culture was absorbed within a generation. Then Spain arrived. 1533 CE, the Inca fell, taking Chimu with them. Double erasure, double forgetting. The adobe walls of Chan Chan crumble every rain season, washing away, returning to earth. Soon, maybe, nothing will remain but photographs and memories of a civilization that touched the sky and dissolved like mud in water. Your breath shallow, shallow, almost nothing, almost still, almost peace. The Muisca Confederation in Colombia's highlands, from 600 CE. They weren't an empire, more a confederation. Multiple chiefdoms, Zipaquira, Bacata, Hunza, Tunja. They're famous for El Dorado legend, the Golden One, Gilded Man. New chieftains covered themselves in gold dust, dove into Lake Guatavita, offerings to the goddess, emeralds, gold, sinking to the bottom. Spanish heard these stories, became obsessed, spent centuries searching, draining lakes, digging, finding nothing, because El Dorado wasn't a place. It was a ceremony, a ritual, already ended by the time conquistadors arrived. The Muisca were conquered by 1540. Their confederation dissolved. language suppressed, religion destroyed. Within a century, Muisca culture was fragmented, Christianity imposed, Spanish language mandatory. Today, a few thousand people claim Muisca descent, trying to revive the language, reconstruct the beliefs, but most is lost, gone with the gold, into the lake, into the earth, into forgetting, drifting through the darkness, through time, through mystery. The Zapotec civilization in Oaxaca Valley, Mexico, from 500 BCE, they built Monte Alban, massive ceremonial center on a flattened mountaintop, pyramids, plazas, ball courts, astronomical observatory. The Zapotecs developed one of the first writing systems in the Americas, carved in stone, recording names, dates, events. They tracked the stars, Venus, the moon, built buildings aligned to celestial events. At its peak, 25,000 people. Then around 800 CE, Monte Alban was abandoned. Climate change, political upheaval, the Zapotec civilization declined, fragmented into smaller kingdoms. Spanish conquest came later. Zapotec language survives, spoken by 500,000 people. A victory, rare continuity, but the political entity, the unified civilization, that ended centuries ago. Another mountain city, empty, another people, dispersed. Your consciousness barely flickering like a candle in wind, almost out. The Tirona of Colombia's Sierra Nevada, from 200 CE to 1600 CE, they built Ciudad Perdida, the lost city, terraces carved into mountainside, stone paths, circular platforms, 800 terraces, connected by stairs, hidden in jungle. Rediscovered only in 1972, the Tirona were gold workers, traded with distant peoples, salt, emeralds. Their descendants, the Kogi, still live in the mountains, maintain ancient traditions, spiritual practices. They call themselves the Elder Brothers. Say modern civilization, the younger brothers, are destroying the world. The Kogi avoided Spanish conquest, retreated higher, preserved their culture when most others fell. A rare example of continuity, of survival, of a people who didn't disappear, just withdrew high enough, remote enough to remain themselves. Your body dissolving, coming air, becoming nothing, becoming everything. The kingdom of Axum in Ethiopia and Eritrea, from 100 to 940 CE, a trading empire, Red Sea commerce, India, Rome, Arabia. They minted their own coins, gold, silver, bronze, inscribed in Greek, Gears, South Arabian. Axum erected massive stone obelisks, steely, some over 100 feet tall, carved from single pieces of granite. How they moved them, raised them, remains mysterious. King Ezana converted to Christianity, 330 CE, one of the first Christian kingdoms. Aksumite Church evolved into Ethiopian Orthodox, survived Islamic expansion, crusades, colonialism, maintained independence. Axum itself declined. Climate change, trade routes shifting, Islam controlling the Red Sea, the capital moved, the kingdom transformed into medieval Ethiopia, but didn't disappear, didn't vanish, evolved, persisted, still there in Ethiopian identity, in Orthodox Christianity, in the memory of ancient glory. Pause. The Meroitic Kingdom in Sudan, from 800 BCE to 350 CE, successor to Kush, capital at Meroe. They developed their own script, Meroitic, cursive and hieroglyphic versions. We can read the letters, sound them out, but don't understand the language. 23 consonants, 4 vowels, thousands of inscriptions, all mysterious, all silent. The Meroitic kingdom had iron. Byproduct heaps suggest massive production. The Birmingham of ancient Africa. They traded with Rome, Egypt, Arabia, built pyramids, over 200, different from Egyptian style, steeper, smaller. Around 350 CE, Axum invaded, destroyed Meroe. The kingdom collapsed. The Meroitic script disappeared. The language died. Christianity and Islam swept through. Nubia transformed. Today, those pyramids stand in the Sudanese desert, ignored by most, unknown to many, monuments to African civilization, before European contact, before colonial narratives, proof of sophistication, of complexity, of everything the colonizers denied. Your mind empty, your body gone, only floating, only peace, only sleep, deep sleep. Zhangjung in Tibet, from 500 BCE to 625 CE, pre-Buddhist civilization, the Bön religion originated here, animistic, shamanistic. Zhangjung had its own language, its own script, its own texts. They controlled trade routes between India and China, Central Asia and Tibet. Around 625 CE, the Tibetan Empire conquered Zhangjung. The king was killed, the territory absorbed. Zhangjung language declined. Tibetan replaced it. Bön religion was suppressed. When Buddhism arrived, though Bön survived, absorbed Buddhist elements, became something hybrid. Today, fewer than 1,000 people speak Zhangjung, mostly monks, preserving religious texts. The civilization itself, gone. Just another layer in the Tibetan cultural palimpsest. Another story in the world's highest mountains, where everything is thin, including memory, melting into darkness, into warmth, into the eternal now. Anuradhapura Kingdom in Sri Lanka, from 377 BCE to 1017 CE, 14 centuries, one of the longest lasting kingdoms in Asian history. The capital, Anuradhapura, was magnificent. Massive stupas. The Jetavanaramaya stood over 400 feet, comparable to Egyptian pyramids, enormous reservoirs, tanks, storing monsoon water, irrigation networks, engineering marvels. The sacred Bodhi tree still grows there, a cutting from the tree Buddha sat under, brought to Sri Lanka in 288 BCE, still alive, over 2,000 years old. the longest historically documented tree, living connection to ancient times. But the kingdom fell. Invasions from South India, 1017 CE. The capital moved. Anuradhapura was abandoned, reclaimed by jungle, forgotten, until British archaeologists rediscovered it, restored the stupas, cleared the tanks. Now it's a UNESCO site, pilgrimage destination. The tree still grows, older than the civilizations that protected it, older than the religions that revere it, just growing, surviving, persisting. When everything else falls, your heart beats softer than memory, quieter than forgetting. The Srivijaya Empire controlled maritime Southeast Asia from 650 to 1377 CE. Based in Sumatra, they dominated trade through the Strait of Malacca, spices, silk, incense. Everything between China and India passed through Srivijaya's waters. They were Buddhist, a center of learning. Chinese pilgrims studied there before going to India. The empire left few physical remains, built in wood, tropical climate. Everything decays. Most knowledge comes from Chinese texts, Indian inscriptions, Arab accounts. By 1400 CE, Srivijaya had collapsed, too decentralized. Attacks from Java, Chola invasions from India, Majapahit conquest. The empire fragmented. The name disappeared until modern scholars reconstructed it from fragments, from references, from silence. A maritime empire, leaving almost nothing but memories in other people's books, drifting past thought, past self, into pure existence, pure peace. Majapahit Empire in Java, from 1293 to 1527 CE, the last major Hindu-Buddhist empire in Southeast Asia, at its peak, controlled most of Indonesia, Malaysia, southern Thailand. They built Trowulan, capital city, brick buildings, canals, sophisticated urban planning. The Majapahit were culturally brilliant. Literature, art, architecture, temples, Nagarika Tagama, epic poem described the empire's glory. Then Islam arrived. Gradual conversion, coastal sultanates, pressure from within. The empire fragmented. The Hindu elite fled to Bali, where Hindu culture survives today. Java became Islamic. Within a century, Majapahit was forgotten. In Java, remembered only in Bali, and in nationalist movements, claiming ancient glory. Modern Indonesia invokes Majapahit, unity and diversity, empire spanning archipelago. But the reality was more complex, more violent, more fragmented. The past becomes myth, becomes symbol, becomes whatever the present needs it to be. Your body invisible, your mind dissolved, only breath, only heartbeat, only now. The Hattians inhabited central Anatolia before the Hittites. From 2500 BCE, they spoke a non-Indo-European language, built cities. Hattusa would become the Hittite capital, but first it was Hattian, around 2000 BCE. Indo-European speakers arrived. The Hittites. They conquered, absorbed Hattian culture, adopted their gods, their names, their places. Hattian language survived in religious context, liturgy, ritual, but gradually declined. By 1200 BCE, gone, replaced entirely by Hittite, which itself would disappear. By 1000 BCE, layers of forgetting, one language covering another, Indo-European over Hattian, then Phrygian over Hittite, then Greek, then Turkish, each erasing the last, until only archaeologists and linguists digging through tells, deciphering tablets, can glimpse what was there before, what was lost, what forgot itself, sinking deeper, deeper than sleep, deeper than death, into the place where nothing exists and everything is possible. The Kushan Empire stretched from India to Central Asia. From 30 to 375 CE, they controlled the Silk Road, trade between Rome and China, passed through their territory. They minted beautiful coins, gold, depicting emperors and gods, Greek, Hindu, Buddhist, Zoroastrian, all mixed, cultural synthesis. The Kushans spread Buddhism into Central Asia, China, the Gandharan art style, Greco-Buddhist, Buddha looking like Apollo, emerged under Kushan patronage. Then the empire declined. Sassanid Persia attacked from west, Gupta India from south, Hephthalite Huns from north. By 375 CE, fragmented, absorbed. The Kushan language barely survived. A few inscriptions, coins. We know they existed from sources that mentioned them, from archaeology, from art. But their own voice, their own stories, gone into the Silk Road dust, into the mountain passes, into the amnesia of collapsed empires. Your thoughts scattered, dispersed, like stars, like sand, like smoke. The Pazyryk culture lived in the Altai Mountains, Siberia, from 600 to 200 BCE, nomadic, riding horses, living in felt tents, buried in frozen tombs. The permafrost preserved them, bodies, clothing, tattoos. We can see them, touch them, almost as they were 2,000 years ago. Elaborate tattoos, fantastic animals, mythological creatures, covering arms, backs, legs, Persian rugs in the tombs, Chinese silk. They traded far, lived well, then they disappeared. Climate change, pushed out by other nomads, absorbed. The frozen tombs remained, waiting, until Russian archaeologists found them. 1940s and 50s, opened them, and the Pazyryk lived again, briefly, in museums, in photographs, in scholarly papers, before returning to frozen sleep, waiting in the Altai permafrost for the ice to melt, for the stories to thaw, melting, melting. Your edge is gone, no boundary, no separation, just being. The Scythian nomads dominated the steppes from 700 to 300 BCE, Iran to Ukraine, masters of mounted warfare. They shot arrows from horseback, retreating armies, devastated pursuit. Herodotus wrote about them, described their customs, drinking from skull cups, scalping enemies, smoking cannabis in steam tents. Archaeological evidence confirms it. Golden burial goods, elaborate horse harnesses, tattooed mummies in frozen tombs. The Scythians left no written language, only archaeology, Greek accounts, Persian inscriptions. They were absorbed. Sarmatians, Goths, Huns, each wave pushing through, replacing, transforming. By 200 CE, no more Scythians, just stories. Gold in museums, names on maps. Scythia, a place that doesn't exist. A people who rode away into history, into myth, into the endless steppe. That erases everyone. Eventually, your consciousness fragmenting, breaking apart, dissolving into peace, into nothing. Goguryeo Kingdom in Korea, from 37 BCE to 668 CE, one of the three kingdoms, powerful, militaristic. They controlled Manchuria. Northern Korea built enormous fortresses, stone walls, mountain strongholds, fought China. Sui dynasty invaded, 30,000 casualties, repelled. Tang dynasty invaded. Finally, with Korean allies, Goguryeo fell. 668 CE, the kingdom was divided, absorbed. The northern part became Balhae, the southern, unified Silla. Goguryeo culture influenced both. Temple architecture, tomb murals, colourful, vibrant, showing daily life, hunting, dancing, spirits. The murals survive. In North Korea, UNESCO sites, proof of artistic sophistication, but the kingdom itself, gone. Remembered differently. In North Korea, in South Korea, in China, each claiming the legacy, each interpreting the past to serve the present, history becoming nationalism, archaeology becoming politics. The past never just the past. Drifting, untethered, unbound, free. The Xiongnu Confederation in Mongolia and northern China, from 209 BCE to 93 CE, nomadic confederation, unified by Modu Chanyu. They challenged Han China, raided, extracted tribute. The Great Wall was built to keep them out. Didn't work. The Xiongnu were sophisticated, diplomatic, strategic, not simple barbarians. Chinese historians portrayed them. They had writing, trade networks, metallurgy, political organization. Then the Confederation split. Internal conflict. Northern and southern Xiongnu. Han Dynasty exploited the division, allied with southern Xiongnu, defeated northern. By 93 CE, fragmented, absorbed. Some possibly migrated west, becoming Huns, in Europe, centuries later. But this is disputed. The connection uncertain. What's certain is that, by 200 CE, no more Xiongnu, just Mongols, Turkic tribes, later peoples, in the same steppes, the same unforgiving grass sea that drowns nations and remembers nothing. Your heartbeat barely there, like distant thunder, like old stories, fading. Urartu Kingdom in the Armenian Highlands, from 860 to 590 BCE, centered on Lake Van, eastern Turkey now. They challenged Assyria, built massive fortresses, Erebuni, Tushpa, sophisticated irrigation, canals, aqueducts. The Russians worshipped Haldi, chief god, built temples, left cuneiform inscriptions. Then the Medes invaded. 590 BCE, the kingdom collapsed. Suddenly, completely. The Eurasian language died. Armenian may have absorbed elements, or might not. Linguists debate. The fortresses remain. Massive walls, cyclopean stones, the canals still visible, but the people gone into the genetic mix. That became Armenian, Kurdish, Turkish, layers of migration, conquest, transformation, until Urartu is just a name in history books, on archaeological sites, in the deep memory of the highlands, where everything eventually is buried by time. Your body gone, your mind gone, yourself dissolving into the cosmic dark, into eternal rest. The Liao dynasty remnants, after the Liao dynasty fell, 1125 CE, some fled west, established Kara-Kitai, Western Liao, in Central Asia. They ruled from Balasagun, Kyrgyzstan, controlled the Silk Road for a century, brought Chinese administration, writing, culture to Central Asia. Then Mongols arrived, Genghis Khan, 1218 CE. Kara-Kitai collapsed. The Khitan people, who founded both Liaos, dispersed, absorbed into Mongol Empire, Chinese, Central Asian peoples. The Khitan language died. By 1500, few written records, most in a script, still partially undeciphered. The Khitan gave their name to Cathay, medieval European name for China, Marco Polo's Cathay, but the Khitan themselves disappeared. Centuries before Europeans arrived, another people, leaving only a name in other languages pronounced by people who never knew them, drifting through silence, through emptiness, through the space between stars. The Tehuelche peoples in Patagonia from 12,000 BCE, the original inhabitants. When Europeans arrived, the Tehuelche were there, tall people, averaging 6 feet, some taller. Magellan called Patagonia Land of the Big Feet, referring to them. They hunted guanaco, wore fur cloaks, lived in mobile bands, simple material culture, rich spiritual life, Spanish colonization, then Chilean and Argentine expansion. 19th century was genocidal, disease, warfare, displacement. By 1900, almost extinct. Today, few identify as Tehuelche. The language has 3 speakers left, 3 people holding an entire worldview, an entire way of seeing that will die. When they die, probably within years, another language, another culture, falling silent, while the world doesn't notice, doesn't care, doesn't even know what's being lost. Your breath barely moving, barely living, barely there. Mapuche settlements in Chile and Argentina from 600 CE, but probably much earlier. They resisted Inca expansion, fought Spanish colonization. For 300 years, Arauco War, longest in New World history. The Mapuche adopted horses, developed cavalry tactics, maintained independence until 1880s. Then Chilean and Argentine governments conquered them. Conquest of the desert, pacification of Araucania, euphemisms for genocide. The Mapuche were pushed onto reservations, marginal land, language suppressed, culture attacked, but they survived. Today, almost 2 million people identify as Mapuche, Mapudungun language, still spoken by 200,000. They're fighting for land rights, cultural recognition, autonomy. The struggle continues. Unlike most, in these stories, the Mapuche persist, resist, refuse to disappear, refuse to become just history, just memory, just loss, melting into the darkness, the warm darkness, the peaceful darkness, where nothing hurts and nothing ends. Sangsingdui civilization in Sichuan, China, from 1700 to 1100 BCE, discovered by accident, 1929. Farmer found jade. Then in 1986, sacrificial pits revealed bronze masks. Enormous, some 6 feet wide, eyes protruding on stalks, ears like wings, completely unlike any Chinese art. Before or after, gold staff, bronze trees, elephant tusks, cowrie shells from the sea trade across vast distances. The Sangsingdui built city walls, enormous, sophisticated, contemporary with Shang dynasty, but completely different. Different style, different religion, different everything. Then around 1100 BCE, abandoned, the civilization moved, or collapsed, or transformed. We don't know. No written records. The artifacts were ritually destroyed, buried, hidden, or offered to gods we don't know, for reasons we can't guess. Sangsingdui raises more questions than it answers. A Chinese civilization that doesn't look Chinese, that emerged, flourished, and vanished, leaving only these alien faces staring from museum cases, silent, mysterious, strange, your consciousness barely flickering, like candlelight in infinite dark, almost gone, almost. Byblos and Phoenician mysteries. Byblos, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities, 7,000 years. In Lebanon, the Phoenicians used it as major port. Purple dye, cedarwood, papyrus. The Greeks called papyrus Byblos, after the city. Bible comes from this. Book from Byblos. The Phoenicians invented the alphabet, 22 letters, foundation of Greek, Latin, Hebrew, Arabic. Our own letters, descended from Phoenician. They sailed everywhere. Mediterranean, Atlantic, possibly to Britain, for tin. Some say to America, pre-Columbian. Evidence disputed. The Phoenicians left few texts, mostly inscriptions. They wrote on papyrus, which decays. Their history comes from enemies, Greeks, Romans, Hebrews, who hated them, called them deceivers, traders, untrustworthy. Phoenician religion seems to have included child sacrifice, or so enemies claimed. Archaeology somewhat confirms. Tophet burials, infant remains, but context unclear. By 64 BCE, Rome conquered. Phoenicia became a province. The Phoenicians became Syrians, Arabs, Christians, then Muslims. The alphabet survived. The city survived. But Phoenician identity, language, culture, gone. By 500 CE, leaving only an alphabet that conquered the world, while the people who made it disappeared. Thump, pause, 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 pause. Norte Chico civilization in Peru from 3500 to 1800 BCE, contemporary with Egypt, Mesopotamia, but completely different. They built cities, Corral, Aspero, 25 urban centers, pyramids, plazas. They had no pottery, no writing, no art, none of the markers we associate with civilization. But they were complex, organized, cooperative. They grew cotton for fishing nets, caught anchovies, traded with highlands, managed irrigation, built ceremonially. Then around 1800 BCE, they declined. Climate change, El Niño events, maybe the cities were abandoned, covered by sand, forgotten for 4,000 years, until 1994, rediscovered. Norte Chico shows civilization doesn't require what we thought it required: writing, pottery, art. It needs cooperation, organization, shared purpose. And Norte Chico had that for 1,700 years, then lost it and vanished into the Peruvian desert, into the amnesia that swallows everything. Eventually, your mind empty, your body still, only existence, only peace, only sleep, deep, deep sleep. The Wari Empire in Peru, from 600 to 1000 CE. Before the Inca, they controlled the Andes, built cities, roads, Huari, the capital, 20,000 people. The Wari were administrators, record keepers. They might have invented the quipu, knotted strings, recording information, mathematics, census, taxes. The Wari built sophisticated water systems, terraces, irrigation. They brewed chicha, corn beer, in massive quantities for ceremonies, for workers, for the state. Around 1000 CE, the empire collapsed. Drought, political crisis. The Wari Empire fragmented into regional kingdoms. Then the Inca arose, absorbed Wari territory, technology, administrative techniques. The Inca built on Wari foundations, but erased Wari memory, taking credit for what they inherited. The Wari cities were abandoned, Wari buried by centuries, until archaeologists excavated, revealed the empire before the empire, the civilization before the famous one, another layer in the endless palimpsest of Andean history, floating in the void, no gravity, no direction, no time, just peace, eternal peace. Tiwanaku civilization at Lake Titicaca, Bolivia, from 200 to 1000 CE, high altitude, 12,000 feet. They built raised fields, sophisticated agriculture, growing food, where most civilizations couldn't survive. Tiwanaku City was ceremonial center, massive stone blocks, precise cuts, the gateway of the sun, 9 tons, single piece of andesite, carved with the staff god. Later the Inca attributed Tiwanaku to giants, or gods. Couldn't believe humans built it. The Tiwanaku Empire traded widely, controlled territory from Peru to Chile, then collapsed 1000 CE, possibly drought, political fragmentation. The city was abandoned, people migrated, formed the Aymara kingdoms. Inca later conquered them. Spanish conquered the Inca, but Tiwanaku itself stood empty, stones plundered, used in colonial churches, proof of sophisticated civilization, built into Catholic structures, layer upon layer, culture upon culture, stones outlasting everything, everyone. Your heart beats softer than silence, quieter than nothing, almost stopped, almost. The Mitanni kingdom in northern Mesopotamia and Syria, from 1500 to 1300 BCE, they challenged Egypt, Hittites, Assyria for a century. They were powerful, then suddenly collapsed, conquered by Assyria. The Mitanni spoke Hurrian, non-Indo-European, but their ruling class spoke Indo-Aryan, names from Sanskrit, gods from Vedic pantheon. How did Indo-Aryan speakers reach Syria so early? This is mysterious, debated. The Mitanni left few texts, mostly in other nations' archives. We know about them from Egyptian letters, Hittite treaties, Assyrian annals. Their own voice barely survives. Hurrian language died after Assyria conquered them, absorbed into Aramaic by 1000 BCE. Gone. The Indo-Aryan element disappeared earlier, assimilated into Hurrian, or left. We don't know. The Mitanni remain mysterious, a powerful kingdom about which we know almost nothing. Melting, dissolving, becoming one with the darkness, with the silence, with the eternal. The Sumerians in the Eurasian steppes, from 800 to 600 BCE, they invaded Anatolia, possibly pushed by Scythians, destroyed Urartu, sacked Lydia, Gordian, terror from the north. Homer mentions them, land of eternal twilight, at the edge of the world. By 600 BCE, the Sumerians disappeared, absorbed into Scythian, Thracian, Anatolian populations, or destroyed. We barely know them, only from enemy accounts, only from brief mentions in texts about others. They left no monuments, no inscriptions, no clear archaeological trace, just a name in Homer, in Herodotus, and theories about who they were, where they went, what they meant. Another steps people, riding out of darkness into brief light, then back into darkness forever, your consciousness dissolving like sugar in water, like stars in dawn, like breath in air. The Parthian Empire in Iran, from 247 BCE to 224 CE. They defeated Rome repeatedly. Cary, 53 BCE. Crassus killed. Eagles captured. Rome's worst defeat. The Parthians controlled the Silk Road, taxed trade between east and west, grew wealthy, but left few monuments, few texts. They wrote on parchment, which decayed. We know them mostly from Roman accounts, from Chinese sources, from coins. Around 224 CE, the Sasanian Persians revolted, overthrew the Parthians. The Arsacid dynasty ended. Parthian language declined. Middle Persian replaced it. Within centuries, Parthian was extinct, the empire that challenged Rome. For 500 years, left barely a trace, few buildings, few inscriptions, almost nothing, just stories. In other people's books, about the enemy in the east, who wouldn't submit, who defeated Rome, but couldn't quite defeat, forgetting, your body invisible, your mind gone, only warmth, only darkness, only peace, only sleep. The Khitan Liao cities in Mongolia and China, From 916 to 1125 CE, the Khitan established dual administration, nomadic and settled. They created the Khitan script, large and small versions, complex, partially deciphered. When the Liu dynasty fell, the cities were abandoned, covered by Mongolian steppe, centuries of grass, dust, forgetting. Archaeologists are excavating them now, finding Buddhist temples, Chinese-style palaces, Mongol yurts, cultural fusion. The Khitan tried to bridge steppe and sedentary, nomadic and urban. It worked for 2 centuries, then collapsed, and the cities became memories, became mounds, became archaeology. The Khitan disappeared. Their language died. Their scripts fell silent. Another attempt to combine opposites, to reconcile differences. That worked for a while, but eventually, only eventually, failed, drifting past memory, past identity, past everything, into the place where lost civilizations go, where everything forgotten waits. The Dongsun culture in Vietnam, from 1000 BCE to 1 CE, Bronze Age culture, famous for bronze drums, large, decorated, scenes of daily life, boats, animals, warriors, musicians. The drums spread throughout Southeast Asia, used in ritual, music, status. Dongsun sites show sophisticated metallurgy, social organization, rice cultivation. Then Han China invaded. Northern Vietnam became Chinese province. 111 BCE, Dongsun culture was absorbed, Sinicized. Vietnamese identity formed from this mixing, Chinese and indigenous. The drums survived, are still revered. National symbol of Vietnam, Laos, Indonesia, but Dongsun as distinct culture ended 2,000 years ago, leaving only bronze drums, still played, still honored, still connecting modern people to ancient ancestors through sound, through resonance, through memory, held in metal and rhythm, your heartbeat barely there, like ancient drums, distant, fading, almost silent, almost Funan Kingdom in Cambodia and Vietnam, from 100 to 550 CE, first major Southeast Asian kingdom. They controlled trade between India and China. Angkor Boré, the capital, Sanskrit inscriptions, Hindu temples, Indian influence profound, but the kingdom spoke Mon Khmer, local language, blending cultures. Then Chenla, a vassal state, revolted. 550 CE, conquered Funan. The kingdom ended. But Funan cities became Angkorian cities. Funan culture evolved into Khmer culture, which built Angkor Wat centuries later. So Funan didn't disappear exactly. It transformed, changed name, changed dynasty, but continued in its children, in its descendants. Sometimes lost civilizations aren't really lost, just renamed, reimagined, reborn. The universe keeps turning. Echoes of lost civilizations fade into the night, and will keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. 100 lost civilizations mysteries, looping softly, endlessly through the night. Tonight we'll drift through the shocking evidence of Atlantis' crystal-powered technology, the Mayans' sudden vanishing act, the forbidden Göbekli Tepe ruins. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink, heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing, thump, thump, shoulders melting down, jaw releasing, each breath pulling you deeper, deeper into the calm, the quiet, the dark. Now, let's drift into lost civilizations.